Welcome to another episode of Casual Cinephilia, where enthusiastic amateurs talk very passionately about movies. I'm Ian.
I'm Lorian, and today we're talking about The Man Who Killed Don Quixote.
Which has had the most tumultuous past, and
Yes.
from what I understand, took 30 years to make.
Yes.
That's insane.
Yeah. It's a Terry Gilliam movie, so it was already going to be insane no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, 30 years to a finished product. But hearing about the past of it, I'm really glad.
Yeah.
Because we ended up with a really great cast,
Mm-hmm.
with Adam Driver at the helm, and previous versions have had Johnny Depp at the helm.
Yeah.
And we all know how I feel about Johnny Depp.
But it was 2000s Johnny Depp, which was a little bit more bearable, but...
Yeah, he wasn't Jack Sparrow yet in 2000,
Yeah,
so he might have been able to act still.
Yeah.
So he might have been in the process of becoming Jack Sparrow, so it still could have been a problem.
It's gonna be Don Juan de Quixote.
That is, wow, so many things.
Because he was what? He was Don Juan DeMarco, right? Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ha! I know movies, sort of.
Why would you want to know that movie, though?
I don't know. So, I wasn't expecting it to be over 2 hours long. Like,
were you not?
I clicked on it, I bought it on, or rented it off of Amazon, and...
Why didn't you just
Because
watch my copy?
I'm lazy, and I was
okay, that's fine.
I forgot your login, and I was like, I don't want to bugger. It's like 8 in the morning, 9 in the morning. I'm not sure if you're awake or not.
Okay.
So I just rented it. It was 99 cents.
Yeah.
So I rented it and sat down and watched it, and I felt like I was going insane the entire movie. And it doesn't let up. Like, to the end, the insanity goes until the credits roll.
Yep.
And...
I mean, in true Terry Gilliam style, though,
this is true.
It's sort of his pace. It's not super fast-paced. It's not crawling. It's sort of like a steady clip, but it's relentless.
Yes. It's just a constant driving pace that's not fast.
Right.
But it does... You're right. It's never
intense.
slows down. It's intense, but it's not fast.
Right.
And I'm just going to give my just honest review of it. I don't think I'll ever watch it again. But it was shot amazingly.
Right.
Because, it was shot like a Terry Gilliam film.
Right.
I don't know how Terry Gilliam does it. Whether it's him directing it or if he has a cinematographer. But he has this thing where it's like a Steadicam freehand. Where it looks like it's being run around on some guy's shoulder.
Right.
But then it clicks into a... pan shot in the same shot, and it's just like
he could be maneuvering a guy onto a track. I mean, these are all things that could be happening as you're describing them. But yeah, it's
a
very
very
distinctive
Gilliam style, and weird like camera angle adjustments mid conversation that nothing in the conversation is odd, but because that camera angle, that shift happens, your brain just automatically goes, something's not right. Like, it's again, very Gilliam. And so I loved how it was filmed. I loved the color palettes that was used. It was very...
I love Gilliam's aesthetic.
Yeah, it was very telling of what was going on, though by the end, you couldn't really tell what was real. And what, in the beginning, they used color palettes to tell you what was fantasy and what was real. And by the end, the lines were so blurred that you couldn't tell anymore. And I loved the acting. This movie just proved to me that Adam Driver is one of my favorite actors of this generation. He's absolutely great. Phenomenal. But I'll probably never see this movie again. Like, for me, this is not a Time Bandits, like...
Sure.
Where, I don't know. I can't put my finger on why it didn't click with me. Because I literally just listed all the amazing things about it.
I did really like it. own it and have already seen it several times. But I also, Terry Gilliam's one of those directors where if his name is on a movie, I will go see it.
Yeah.
Even if the trailers look awful and everything about it sounds bad, I'm gonna go see the movie.
Yeah.
That's my dad's fault. He had me watching way too much Terry Gilliam way too soon.
Well, he is a true artist.
Right.
In that he doesn't care.
No, he does not.
About anything, about tropes, about anything. And it makes his movies enjoyable to watch solely because of that. Mm-hmm. This one, though, it was exhausting for me.
Okay.
I think that's the only detriment to it, was by the end of it, the credits rolled. Normally I watch the credits to just, right. To show honor to the hundreds of people that it takes to make these movies. But I just turned it off and went and took a nap. Like I was genuinely exhausted by the end of this movie.
I rewatched it for the podcast last night at work. I started it at, I think, 5:38 in the morning, and my shift ends at 8, which meant that I had like 4 minutes to spare on my clock for getting it watched. And I did, but I also, like, my coworker walked in as the credits started to roll, and I was like, all right, great, done, back it all up. But I was a little surprised it didn't put me to sleep.
Yeah.
Because it is not his movies are not the kind of movies that keep people awake.
No, it's true.
But no, I did stay awake through it, so that's something.
Yeah. So I kind of want to get into the plot of it. Oh, by the way, spoilers. We spoil everything that you love, and I don't know many people who will have seen this movie. But
all of you should have. We told you to go rent it.
If you haven't, be forewarned, we're going to be spoiling it. And I don't know, this, even though I am not the biggest fan of it, I still believe this is a movie you should see.
It's definitely worth
without
seeing.
Spoilers.
Sure. I don't know that there's too much to be spoiled.
The insanity of it can be spoiled. And that's the ride of this movie, is questioning what is that you're being shown, what is real and what isn't.
Right.
And so,
but I don't know that becomes clearer upon rewatches.
Fair. Either way, spoilers.
Sure.
So at what point does Toby, Adam Driver, start to go insane?
I feel like the whole time.
Like
we open on him as a commercial director with his shoot's going crazy. I feel like he's already got the seeds planted at very least.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the whole point of it is he's this prodigal director being forced to do commercials.
Sure.
I don't know. I guess that's a good point of him just starting off insane. But like the whole gold scene, all the gold, there's a couple of dream sequences that
you could
I'm not
argue,
even 100% sure if they were actually dream sequences.
You could argue that he starts to go insane when we first see the gypsy, which is the character's name, just to clear us up.
Yes.
Credited as, which is very early. It's in that first scene at the commercial shoot.
Yeah, at the commercial shoot.
Because he does sort of play the keeper of the keys with all the magic in the film. Mm-hmm. The magic in quotes here. I guess it's mostly just insanity.
Yeah. And does he?
Is there a line between magic and insanity? Is one of Gilliam's themes usually?
I mean, good point. And does Javier / Don Quixote die? Like flat out? Does Toby flat out murder him?
Yeah.
Okay, so
yes, he does.
That was a real.
They're bringing his body back to the village at the end,
and then he turns himself, he himself becomes Don Quixote.
Yeah, like the spirit of madness is passed on. God, I really liked that ending a lot. It's the kind of ending that I love and my mom hates, where it doesn't really wrap anything up, but there's definitely not going to be a sequel.
Yeah, it just. It was so bizarre. And I think that's why it was so exhausting, is that ending where he's attacks the giants, the windmill, his windmill.
Which I believe is... Oh, God, this could be wrong. We couldn't find any of the videos I'd watched previously to refresh, but I believe that footage of the giants is some of the footage they shot before.
Really?
In one of their previous attempts at the film. And is one of the only things that made it through. But I could be totally wrong about that. There's something about that scene that's interesting, but I can't remember if that's what it is or not.
Wow, that was a Harley Davidson.
Yeah. Our podcast has moved recording studios once again.
Oh, yeah.
Ian is a homeowner now.
I'm a homeowner now. We're on the second floor. Is that a floor? Not story.
I think either way works.
Either way. We're in the second floor studio thing. Home. It's a 2-story home. It's nice. I'm happy. I had to move all the equipment. That's why this episode's a little late. Because,
my life was too much this summer.
Lorian is
I
insane
had like 40 jobs at once. No one's to blame. Everyone's to blame. Here's the episode. Be happy.
So, yeah. So, we won't have ridiculous upstairs neighbors.
But we will have Harleys.
But we will have Harleys, apparently. You learn the territory with time.
Yep.
Oh, the jousting scene. I really enjoyed that.
Loved that scene. The first time I was watching it, it was so disorienting because Gilliam is so careful with his aesthetic to suddenly have CDs.
Yeah.
So if you're paying attention to the things like scene and costume design, you're already a little bit like, what? Yeah. This is different. Like, this is not right. These are undisguised CDs.
Yeah.
And yeah, it turned out to be his little buddies trying to rouse him out of his Don Quixote insanity, which is kind of cool. Yeah. I like the depth of history it gave the characters.
Yeah. No, that whole scene was cool, and the set design of it, where they were in like the courtyard of this rundown castle, and the CDs were reflecting light like a disco ball onto all the walls. It just, even though it was the quote unquote real world, it gave it such a fantastical feel.
Such a different fantastical feel.
Yes,
It's like halfway through the melding of aesthetics in the film, but it was so clearly not right.
Yeah.
That it was perfect.
Yeah. The Russian creeped me out.
Yeah.
He was a creeper.
He was a villain.
Yeah. Like full capital V villain.
Well, and there's the knowledge of him being a violent person, but you never really see that. You see more subtle things, like him forcing someone to lick food off of his shoe.
Yeah.
Which is just such a vile move. It's so small, but it's so like, ugh.
Yeah.
Or just like laughing at trickery, laughing at humiliating other people, which is also not high on the villain hierarchy, but so gross the way it's portrayed. They did a good job making him such a villain without taking it into like really gory places.
Yeah, which they could have easily done.
Yeah, it's not like Gilliam's opposed to to violence and stuff.
Well, and that's something that was bizarre about this movie, was it had every opportunity to go into the absurd, grotesque, but he had such restraint on it that, and I think that's why it was so off-putting, was because things would happen where it's like you're expecting it to get very grotesque, and then it doesn't. You're like, okay, so is this fantasy?
Well, the fantasy they're trying to play into is the Don Quixote fantasy, which is all about being like an upstanding gentleman. Yeah. So I think that must have played into it, because he's not a director who's adverse to gore and ridiculous, outlandish things. watch any of his other movies.
Yeah. Well, you watch Time Bandits and people literally explode.
Right.
And it's a kid's movie.
Right. Or God, any of his Python animations. Terry Gilliam was the illustrator